The death penalty. They have to pay the ultimate price.
Voters in Brazil will cast their ballots today in the final round of voting in the presidential elections. As Hervey Cooper reports, South America's biggest country is expected to swing to the right following public anger with corruption and rising crime.
Jair Bolsonaro has been compared to Donald Trump, and now he could be the next president of Brazil in a dramatic swing to the right for the world's fourth largest democracy. A 7-term congressman, Bolsonaro, who is leading in the polls, has pitched himself as the anti-establishment candidate in a country rife with political scandals. Reuters correspondent Anthony Bodel is in the capital, Brasilia.
The reason he is winning this election is his vow to clean house after years of leftist government that ended in Brazil's worst recession and its biggest corruption scandal.
One that brought down Brazil's beloved politician, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, putting him behind bars for 12 years. Now, Bolsonaro's vowing to bring change, but his far-right agenda has sparked comparisons with Trump. On Friday, former White House advisor Steve Bannon endorsed Bolsonaro, hoping he can contribute to a global populist tide.
Bolsonaro likes to see himself as Brazil's Trump. Like Trump, his rise took the political establishment by surprise, and he is backed by the most conservative sectors of Brazilian society. That includes the fast-growing evangelical churches who look to Bolsonaro to stop the legalization of abortion, gay marriage, and drugs.
But for others, 63-year-old Bolsonaro is a polarizing figure, particularly among women. The largest demonstrations against him in recent months have been led by women who say they cannot bring themselves to vote for a man who once told a fellow lawmaker she was too ugly to rape, and for defending the gender pay gap. The other option for Brazilians is leftist Fernando Haddad of the Workers' Party, who has slammed the former army captain's ties to the military.
You are nothing more than a phony soldier. You only talk big because you have armed people around you. You in a hand-to-hand fight are nothing. You're nothing, Jair Bolsonaro.
But the decision if Bolsonaro is nothing or everything will be made on Sunday when Brazilians head to the polls.
Well, the heads of France, Germany, Russia and Turkey have met in Istanbul for a major summit on Syria, where violence this week highlighted the fragility of a peace deal. The leaders stressed the importance of a lasting ceasefire in Syria and said a committee to create a new constitution should meet by the end of the year. Back in September, Russia and Turkey agreed to establish a demilitarized zone in Idlib province. But fighting has continued to plague the province, which is the last rebel stronghold, as Syria's president tries to regain control.
Despite the fact that the level of violence in Syria has significantly decreased, elimination of all the radical elements concentrated there remains one of the most important problems. We must not let the militants who got combat experience continue criminal activity, create sleeping cells in our countries, recruit their followers, and preach extremist ideology and terror.
Although millions of tourists visit Rome each year to take in the sights and sounds, scores of the city's residents say they're unhappy with its state of affairs. Several thousand people protested in front of Rome City Hall yesterday to denounce what they call the Italian capital's worsening decline. Pascal Davies reports.
Thousands of Italians have descended on Rome's City Hall to protest what they say is a declining capital. Among their gripes, potholed roads, uncollected trash and wild boar roaming the streets.
We're here because Rome deserves better, because Rome is in a state of neglect that has never been seen before. It's a city that's in disarray, where there are no rules and no social cohesion.
A strike by garbage collectors has left many trash cans overflowing. Damaged roads are just one sign of a local transport infrastructure in permanent crisis. Critics say the city's been in decline for years and accuse Mayor Virginia Raggi, who took office 2 years ago, of failing to fulfill campaign promises to clean up the mess. Raggi is a member of the anti-establishment Five-Star movement and was swept to power following a wave of public disgust over corruption scandals. She argues she's making good progress on cleaning up the city. But Romans say things are getting worse, not better.
All right, let's move on to sports news now. Well, tragedy has struck at Leicester City after a helicopter crashed outside the football club stadium. According to the BBC, a source says the club's owner was on board when the accident happened. So far, officials have declined to comment. Sarah Hamrajani reports.
A helicopter went down in a ball of flames outside English football club Leicester City on Saturday. UK media say it belonged to the club's owner, Vichai Srivanhanaprabha. Video from the scene showed the fiery aftermath. Eyewitnesses told the BBC that the helicopter just cleared the top of the club stadium before it started to spin, then plummeted to the ground and caught fire. Emergency services swarmed the scene and closed off access nearby. Worried fans gathered outside.
It's ended up as probably the darkest day in Leicester City Football Club's history.
Vichai is a favourite among them. After he bought the team, Leicester City went on to stun the football world by winning the 2016 league title. According to Forbes, Vichai is the 5th richest person in Thailand, worth $4.9 billion. He's the founder of duty-free giant King Power International. Hours after the crash, King Power officials in Thailand said they could not yet comment on the incident. Officials say the cause of the crash is under investigation.
Well, Liverpool has moved to the top of the Premier League after thrashing Cardiff City 4-1 last night. Sadio Mane scored 2 fine goals in the second half, while Mohamed Salah ended any suggestion that he was suffering from a goal drought with his 4th strike in 3 matches to go alongside 2 assists. Xherdan Shaqiri was also on target for the hosts, while Callum Patterson netted for a struggling Cardiff side, who remained 17th with 5 points from their opening 10 matches. Liverpool, still unbeaten and winners of 8 of their 10 league matches, have 26 points, 3 clear of champions Manchester City. Well, it's only been a few months since the latest edition of the World Cup, but focus has already shifted to the 2022 tournament. FIFA says it's confident about host country Qatar, despite concerns over the hot weather and recent political tensions. Our sports correspondent Oliver Reagan reports.
Colossal construction ahead of this controversial World Cup. It may still be 4 years away, but Qatar's transformation is well underway. FIFA President Gianni Infantino was in the tiny Gulf state to check on progress this week and is impressed with what he's seen.
When you enter here, you can immediately feel how imposing it is, and you know, the progress which is made here 4 years before the kickoff of this World Cup is great. It's fantastic. I mean, we're looking very, very much forward. And when I come to visit and when I see every time something new that has been done.
The choice of location for this World Cup has long been contentious, with Qatar's high temperatures, lack of ready infrastructure and recent foreign affairs issues fuel for the critics. But for FIFA's head, there are parallels with last summer's tournament that give him confidence.
There were many fears about Russia by many people, and it turned out to be a very safe World Cup, a very welcoming World Cup, and I'm sure that something very similar will happen here, and this is certainly something that we will need to cooperate together with the Russians. Russian World Cup has been the best ever. The World Cup in 22 here in Qatar has to be even better.
Whilst the 7 new stadiums in Qatar are bound to attract most of the attention, a new port and metro are also part of this ambitious plan. The debate on the country's suitability to host the World Cup is bound to continue, but so too will the vast amounts of money being used to fund it.
Tennis now. World number 3 Roger Federer will face Romanian qualifier Marius Copil in the final of the Swiss indoors in Basel. That's after Federer stormed past 7th seed Daniil Medvedev 6-1, 6-4. Federer saved a break point in the first game, then set about the task of outclassing his opponent with clinical precision to reach his 14th Basel final. After tamely surrendering the first set in 20 minutes, Medvedev found himself trailing 5-1 in the second, but managed to fend off a match point and hold serve. While the Swiss snuffed out the Russians' hopes of a comeback in his next service game, wrapping up the win in 65 minutes. And that's all for now. We'll see you later this evening.
Coming up next, Food Factory Season 4.